For the families of Israelis held captive inside Gaza, a major blow.
Until I see them in my own eyes, I don't believe any lists of names.
A breakthrough deal between Israel and Hamas to allow the release of 50 Israeli hostages in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners, expected to begin today, delayed until Friday.
I don't know what kind of children will come back to us. The trauma, what they saw.
Also delayed, a crucial 4-day ceasefire. Along with it, the delivery of much-needed humanitarian aid.
It's a life-saving pause. I mean, we have over 2 million people who are in threat of starvation.
The reason behind the hold-up is unclear. Israel insisting the deal is not in peril.
This is not going to be easy, and one small mistake with the tension so high, this ceasefire could go from ceasefire to conflagration in an instant.
For Palestinians trapped inside Gaza, fears the hours leading up to the ceasefire will be the deadliest. As Israel continues its bombardment.
I want to be clear. The war is continuing.
18-year-old Palestinian Tia Al-Qadwa scared the world will tire of hearing about the war.
I appreciate everybody who's listening to us and protesting for us. I really don't want this to stop because, we're afraid to die.
As hundreds of teenagers in Melbourne today skipped class and took to the streets, joining a rally for Palestine.
People are dying for no reason.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Politicians on both sides calling for the students to stay in school.
If you want to change the world, get an education, and that means going to school.
If our numeracy and literacy rates were through the roof, then it'd be a different story. But I think this is an indulgence. I think it's a political statement.
But for kids like Tia right now, attending school is a choice they don't have.
I still have dreams that I want to accomplish. I still have stuff that I need to do. I'm still in my teenage years. I'm 18 years old. I really don't want to die.
Ivy Bertram is one of the students who took part in the rally today. Ivy, why did you choose to skip class and strike today?
Well, how can we go to school and do our work when there's a genocide happening in Palestine? We're funding Israel's murder towards Palestinians with our own taxpayer dollars, the same taxpayer dollars that are funding our education. How can we, sit back and just let this all happen? I mean, as a socialist, I want to fight for every single person who is oppressed by this horrible capitalist system.
Very broad comments you made there. Obviously, the genocide claim would be fiercely contested by Israel and people who are sympathetic to Israel's situation. You talk about your opposition to capitalism. Does this mean you'd be protesting things more broadly, that we would see you starting to protest all kinds of things that you think are connected with capitalism and missing school for those things as well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, look back just last week, I was at the climate strike on Friday. I've been reading this sort of stuff for years. And it's not just about what you read, it's about what you do with that knowledge and how you utilise it. So we've all come together, masses of students, passionate and powerful. We are saying no to funding Israel's genocide to Palestine.
Ivy, we can see your passion, we can hear your passion. The opposition leader, though, has called what you're doing an indulgence and said that if your numeracy and literacy rates in schools were better, maybe it would be a different story. What do you say to that?
Well, he hasn't read my report card. And it's not lacking. I don't want to be cocky, but I have spare time, and I can use this spare time and my voice and my knowledge to have a voice for the premature babies in the incubator. And I can use this voice for the students whose schools are being bombed. I've learned more organising this strike in the past month than I have in 2 years of modern history at school, which is really saying something.
Ivy, members of the Jewish community have written a letter to the government in response to the strike, and they say that children have enough to deal with. They don't need to be on the streets protesting on an issue so complex that most adults can't understand the nuance. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think teenagers are quite savvy in politics. I think those adults that aren't really well versed in politics should maybe pick up a book, because I certainly have. And I know that with my knowledge, that I'm doing is right.
Yet these are adults who potentially have families who are directly affected, who are living in Israel. So what do you say to them? And then also the concerns they raise about the impact that these protests may have on Jewish students, and they raise concern for their safety. Do you think these protests could be harmful and divisive?
I don't think so. We're an anti-racist movement. That means we're against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. We don't want to see anyone hurt or harmed. This is why we're doing it. It's because we are against war alone. All death because of war is terrible. This is why we're doing this. All the Israeli deaths are just as bad as all the Palestinian deaths. It is both terrible.
All right, Ivy, thank you very much for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.